Welcome to Straight from the Source. We have a special guest here today, Dr. Frank Nigro from Shasta College. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
I've got to tell you, so it's election season, right?
Yes.
I'm ready for a break from speaking with politicians. As we've been talking to a lot of fantastic people who are running for office lately, but right now, speaking with you is just definitely a treat. Tell me, what's new at Shasta College?
Oh, wow. We have so much that's new. First of all, we're just continuing to do the good work that we've been doing for a long time, but we're always trying to find ways to better serve students. We like to tell people in the community college system that we brag not about our exclusivity and our low acceptance rates, but about our inclusivity. We take the top 100%. So we are doing everything we can to serve those students. I can tell you about some of our new programs. We have a new alcohol and drug studies program that is preparing addiction counselors.
Oh, that is a career that is so needed right now.
It is, and it's wonderful because it's the sort of thing where you can get a certificate in a couple of semesters that gets you gainful employment, but then you could build on that and add salary earnings potentials as you go on down the line. We have a relatively new MESA program, which is to help encourage economically disadvantaged students to go into STEM careers.
Okay.
And we've had tremendous success with that.
How does that work? And what does MESA stand for?
Yeah, MESA stands for mathematics, engineering, and student achievement. And it's a program that's really open to anyone who's interested in a STEM career. And it just provides them with a lot of resources and connections and support so that they can make it through the program. I think in 2024 we had 11 students who transferred out of that into STEM fields, and then last year we had 29. So it's been really growing, and a lot of those students have just gone into some really, really exciting things. We have a student who went into, she's going into something called the LMAT Institute, which is at UC Santa Cruz. And it's a paid internship. There's very few community college students, relatively speaking, who are accepted into it. She was one of the top 5 candidates that they had.
Wow.
We have another student who's going to be working with Stanford University on a project that they have that's connected with NASA. And so she also is doing a paid internship. And yeah, there are many more stories that we have, but it's a wonderful program.
Yeah, it's funny. I think, well, back when I was in high school, I remember I didn't want to go to our local community college. I was like, well, I want to go to a real university, right? Because I thought it was just a place to get your GEs done and then move on. I thought it was kind of just only for saving money. That is really not the case. There are things that you can learn at Shasta College that might be really hard to access somewhere else, specialty programs.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you want to go into a fire career, for example, you could start off as a fire student. One semester, you come out of that program and you become a firefighter. And we're producing 25, 30 firefighters every semester. But then you can add certifications, paramedic. There's a whole law enforcement arm that's connected with fire safety. And you can just move up the food chain. So the head of CAL FIRE right now is actually, he started by going to our fire academy. This is Joe Tyler.
Okay.
And yeah, he just kind of went up and started adding certifications, and now he controls or he oversees all of CAL FIRE for the state of California.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. I tell students you don't have to think of college as a 4-year or as a 6-year or an 8-year endeavor. You can really start with 1 semester, 2 semesters, 3 semesters, and really change the trajectory of your family, especially if you're a first-generation college student, and go on to bigger and better things. So. And
is it free for people who live in Shasta County? For
yes,
residents?
Yeah, it is. Well, we have we have all sorts of programs in place, but probably I think what you're thinking of is what we call the Promise program. And that is a state-supported program where if you are a full-time student taking 12 units or more, you do get free tuition, and that's regardless of where your family is.
Oh, wow.
In terms of their financial situation.
Oh, okay.
And then we have something on top of that called a 15 to Finish grant, where if you're eligible for a Cal Grant B or C, you could also get, I think it's $1,800 extra per semester to help out with your education. So we have I'm really proud of the fact that a lot of our courses are zero cost text or low cost. That's something we've really been pushing. So it's almost 40% of our classes are zero cost text. And when you're selecting a course at Shasta College, you could actually, there's a little icon and you can click on that and you could choose all of your classes for zero cost. And then you could also check ones that are low cost if they absolutely have to have a textbook in the class.
So this is where I'm feeling old, right? Because when I went to high school and college, we had actual books that we carried and we put them in our lockers and we carried them around campus and opened them and highlighted. And I have 2 teen stepsons and they kind of laugh at me because everything's on the Chromebook.
Yes.
They don't have actual textbooks. Do college professors, like, is it all digital or are there some actual books being used?
Well, if you went into the Shasta College bookstore right now and you went into it 20 years ago, you would see a much reduced footprint there as far as the actual textbooks that people use. So yes, you're absolutely right. A lot of our texts have moved to online versions, digital versions, or in some way. Interestingly, same thing has happened in our library. We have increased our ebooks, but the number of actual books has shrunk. And what that's allowed us to do, because we just remodeled our library, is it's allowed us to open up more student spaces. So we have a lot more study spaces, collaborative spaces, places for students to sit and gather and connect. We have a game room now. Yeah. We have a Starbucks in there now.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah. So it's really wonderful.
Yeah.
And a lot of people still prefer the books, and most of the online ebooks that they get, there can be a paper equivalent to that if they want that.
It's nice to have both options.
It is. Yeah.
What about you? When you read for fun?
Well, I kind of got in the habit of using a Kindle.
Me too.
When my kids were little, because I'd very often be up and I wouldn't want to wake them up by turning lights on. So
that's exactly how I got into it. In fact, because when I got married, because I always read before I go to bed at night, and as soon as I got married and I realized my husband kind of likes to doze off before me, even those little book lights are a little bit disruptive if you have anybody in the room. So Kindles are great for that, but I do still love the feel of a book in your hands. So
I do too. The other part of my background, I was an English major. I have way too many books.
Yeah.
I don't know where to put them all.
I know. Sometimes they're just decorative at this point, right?
Yeah, it's like a little library.
You got
at my
your
house,
library.
So, yes.
Yep. So you were an English major. You went to Chico State, right?
I did, yeah.
How did you start out in Butte County? Where did you come from?
So I actually grew up that direction, just up the hill in the town of Paradise.
Nice.
And graduated from Paradise High School. So went from there to Chico State. So I like to say I was a Bobcat before I was a Wildcat.
Okay.
Paradise was wonderful. It's still a wonderful community. I'm still connected with a lot of my old classmates there, and still have family up there. But Chico State was a wonderful experience for me. I recommend it to every student that I come across, because they really took care of me. I was the youngest of 5 children, and I was the first of those children to complete college. My mother had completed college before me, but they were not able to support me through college. And what I found when I got to Chico State is that the faculty there just really embraced me. They helped me to see how to finance my way through college, and got me set up with working as an English tutor and doing other things on campus. So it was just an absolutely wonderful experience. I'm a big fan.
So you had that experience. You studied English. What was initially your dream? What did you think you would do with that?
So my initial dream was to become a research professor in English at a 4-year university, and that was the pathway that I pursued. I went to Vanderbilt University, did my PhD there. It was all on scholarship, didn't pay for it myself. But what happened to me is, in between my undergraduate and going to graduate school, I had a year where I worked at Butte College as a writing center tutor and as a classroom assistant. And I really saw students who were coming from the same place that I was coming from, where they didn't quite know their way through college, they didn't have a lot of role models. And I got excited by that mission. So the whole time that I was in my doctoral program, I sort of felt like an imposter, because I knew that I really wanted to teach. And when the position came up at Shasta College, it just really felt right. I'd been gone for a long time, out of state, out of country, and it was just wonderful to come back to a community where I knew that my experience could really help other people.
Yeah, okay. So, and I'm always curious about that, how people get where they are, especially when it's a title like president of a college, right? Like, what qualifications would somebody normally need for something like that? Like, how do you prepare yourself for this job?
Yeah, generally it's a master's, but a lot of institutions, when they go out and they hire for a college president, they're looking for a doctorate. It's really interesting. I know a lot of college presidents. You go to conferences, and I always like to ask them what majors they had and where they started off, and they really come from everything.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of English majors, there are a lot of math majors, a lot of science majors, and usually it's just people who maybe they start off as faculty coordinators or department chairs. They have good organizational abilities, or they're good at working with other people, and so they get kind of encouraged on the way, and that was really my journey.
Yeah, that's what I'd be curious for somebody who looks at you and says, hey, that's what I want to do someday. I mean, you think that it's really a combination of a personality type, just being a leader, being a people person, being organized?
The degree doesn't matter.
Yeah.
With my cabinet team, once I just asked everybody to go around and say what their major was. The same thing, librarians, counselor, just human resource analysts. We have some people they started as classified employees. Our vice president of administrative services, she started out as a part-time classified employee, and she kind of went up the ranks, and she just capable, smart, and so she just ended up getting promoted along the way.
It's an interesting example of how your college education is sort of just the way to open the door. It's the way to get in. Like for me, I studied broadcast journalism. I did not study management at all, and I became a reporter, a field reporter at first a West Virginia station, and then here. I had no idea I would ever want to be also a manager here. And it was something that just evolved, like became a producer. You start managing with other reporters, and then you just get a feel for it. And so I think that's the coolest thing about life, is that college opens us up to another opportunity after high school, but we never know where it will lead.
Yeah, it's very true, and that argues for just I think a lot of times, a lot of students spend just maybe too much time thinking about what degree to get.
What do I want to do with my life?
What do I want to do with my life? But it's going to evolve, and where you are when you're 25 is going to be different than where you were when you were 18, and so it's really just good to kind of push through, get something in place, and then you could always get additional certifications and degrees later.
Yeah. Maybe a good question is, what do I love learning about? What do I want to learn more about?
That's exactly
Start there.
it. Yeah, pursue something that you really care about.
Yeah. And, back to Shasta College, we've talked a little bit about STEM. We talked about the drug counseling program. What are some other kind of unique programs that people might be able to get a certificate in?
Yeah, there's all kinds of them. We really like our health sciences programs. We have everything from like a 1-semester certified nursing assistant program, all the way up to a registered nursing program. And then we were one of the first 15 colleges in the state, community colleges, to actually offer a baccalaureate, and that's also in the health field. It's health information management.
Oh, okay.
So those are, the health sciences, a lot of our students go in wanting to go into a career in that. And it's like, a starter certification all the way up to a baccalaureate. So it's pretty crazy. 2
questions about that. For baccalaureate, that's the fancy way of saying bachelor's degree, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so that's not common for a 2-year, or well, I don't know if you can call it a 2-year, but it's not common for a community college to have.
It's a really new thing in California. I think that the statistics I saw is that nationwide, about 25% of the states have community college baccalaureates. But it's a relatively new thing, like since 2014 in California. And they initially approved just 15 colleges for a pilot program, and we were part of that. But then very soon they made that kind of a permanent thing. And so now they are approving up to 30 baccalaureates per year in the state of California. So we're looking for, number 2 and number 3 or whatever else can come along. But I think there are 54 statewide now, and they're able to offer a bachelor's degree program very often in fields that you don't find elsewhere. We're not actually allowed to duplicate anything that's offered at the State University or the UC.
I see. Okay, so it has to be very unique.
It has to be very unique, but it also has to serve local labor needs. So that's part of the challenge is, trying to find exactly what the local labor needs are. But I think it's something that's going to keep growing and keep developing. And we could offer a bachelor's degree for about half the cost of what a CSU does. We do a per unit fee, so if you need to do it just a few units at a time, you could do it that way. It's not like one part-time fee and one full-time fee.
Cram it all in now or you lose money.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Although we do like them to just go through
Sure.
as quickly as they can.
Now, this baccalaureate's degree that Shasta College offers, you said the name of it, but I can't envision what the actual job is that it
Yeah, okay.
gives.
So I'll show a little bit of my ignorance here. It's
Okay.
health information management.
Okay.
And basically what it does is prepare people to go into the whole technology side of health services.
Okay.
And you imagine they have everything basically there, just like here and just like at a community college is technology based. So they have to have people who are really able to handle all of those databases and all of those different systems and softwares that they deal with in their work.
And I'm sure that is a position that more and more they're going to need as the world kind of turns to everything is automated, artificial intelligence, everything's computerized. So that'll be a job security thing for sure. So earlier you also mentioned that you could become an RN through courses at Shasta College. Now, I remember, again, when I was in school, I had a lot of friends who wanted to get into the Chico State nursing program, and it was so full that they couldn't, they had a very difficult time pursuing their dream. Is this RN program difficult to get into?
So my understanding is that the program at Chico State is probably still impacted, and that's actually a bachelor's degree in nursing.
Okay.
And so the RN is really an associate degree in nursing, and so it's like a 2-year degree.
Yeah.
Although the interesting thing about it is that there's so many prerequisites that the registered nursing students have to do that by the time they get out, they've done almost 4 years of schooling.
Okay.
So that's why it's sometimes helpful if they actually, maybe start off as a nursing assistant, licensed vocational nurse, and make the transfer over.
Yeah.
So we're not allowed to offer baccalaureate degrees in nursing at this point. That is something that right now is being discussed a lot at the state. There are a couple of I think there are a couple of bills that are coming forward, but it's it would help to solve a workforce need at the same time.
Right.
The state is being very mindful of the fact that the state universities are struggling for enrollments in a lot of areas. They're really trying to define the mission of the state university versus California Community College, maybe in a way that the argument I think for a lot of our legislators is maybe it's a little bit premature to go this way, but it's going to be an ongoing conversation about whether we could offer the bachelor's as well as the registered nursing degree.
So state money goes to both a community college and a CSU, correct?
Yes.
What do you think about, one that clearly costs a lot more to the attendees, right?
Yeah.
Why? Why do you think, what's the value of making one so much more expensive?
That's a good question. I think you need to bring one of these other politicians you were talking to to ask him about that. Yeah. I'm not sure I could answer that. The funding they get at the state university system is about $10,000 per full-time equivalent student more than what we receive.
Okay.
So they get more funding.
And they charge more.
And they charge more.
Interesting.
They do an awful lot to reduce costs for students, so they have greater capacity to provide scholarships for students. So not every student pays that. The UCs receive about $39,000 per student compared to our $12,000 to $13,000 per student, so they even receive more than the state universities.
And those cost even more.
And those cost even more.
This sounds like an investigative story. Just to break down and explain to people what the tuition money is required for.
I don't know historically what the reasons were for that, but that has been in place for a long time, these differences. And the good news is that we feel just very, very well supported by the state.
Yeah.
That said, we've been worrying a lot about some of the federal funding, but we don't have as big of a worry because 95% of our funding actually comes from the state of California.
Right.
And so we're not as vulnerable to things that might happen at the federal level than some of the other systems are.
We've been hearing, though, about a state budget deficit, potentially. It seems
Yes.
like right now everything out of the budget analyst's office and what was coming out of the governor's
Yes.
office is a little uncertain. But
is.
you feel like you're going to get the money that you're relying on this next fiscal year?
We're feeling pretty comfortable for next year. There are concerns about the year after that, just at the state level. Even though we don't rely on federal funding, we sometimes worry about trickle-down effect. If there are things that happen at the federal level that force the state to kind of pick up things that maybe the federal government was doing. So one of the programs we have, for example, is a TRIO program. And it's actually, it's 3 programs in one, but it also serves economically disadvantaged students, and that's all federally supported. And right now, it looks like the funding for that will continue, but if that goes away, that's really going to hurt a lot of our students. And then something that, probably the biggest thing, it doesn't affect our direct budget, but 56% of our students are actually on the Pell Grant.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that's a federally provided financial aid
Yeah.
grant. I was on that
Me
myself.
too. That's how I got through my second 2 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same with me. Without that, I would not have completed college. The Pell Grant for our students brings in $18 million to the community in a given year. And that is money that helps our students to complete. It's aimed at the most economically disadvantaged students, and it goes into the community.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like that federal tax money that people pay, it comes back into the community. It helps to build workers,
Yeah.
People who have degrees and certifications, so they can go back and be that firefighter or that nurse that otherwise they wouldn't be able to do it. So I do worry about that. Right now it appears to be safe, the funding for that, but I'm a college president. I worry about stuff all the time.
Yeah.
So
Well, so worry is one thing. Is it your responsibility if, say, the following fiscal year after the upcoming one, if all of a sudden you find out you don't have the money that you were hoping for or expecting, do you get to decide, like, well, do I do it by salary? Do I raise tuition? You have to figure it out. Just work with what you got.
Absolutely. We don't have the ability to raise tuition ourselves. That's a
Okay.
state level decision
Sure.
in our system. 85% of our budget is salary and benefits. So if we're, if we really get into a nightmare situation, again, we're not there.
Yeah.
But if we really get into that situation, then we would be facing personnel reduction.
Yeah.
We've done a really, really good job managing fiscally at Shasta College for a long time. We have not had any layoffs since I was in high school, and I've been out of high school for a long time.
Yeah.
So it was in the early 1980s. So even during the pandemic, we did a really, really good job of repurposing our employees, getting them trained so that they could help in areas where we needed it. So we suddenly had to have a whole bunch of online teachers. And so we were able to get librarians who were no longer getting students coming into the library because of the pandemic, who we retrained as educational technology specialists to help faculty make this pivot into online classes. So, we ended up not doing any layoffs. We had some attrition, and we were slow to refill positions.
Yeah.
But I'm really, really proud of how we handled that whole situation.
We have to talk about, you brought it up, like AI and automation. There's so many different aspects where this could affect the college level. I have a friend who's a college professor at Butte, and the last few years she has just been hurting, right? Because she loves literature and English too, and she loves like creative writing and inspiring her students. And she says, like, everything she reads, she's just like, ChatGPT, and it's just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And then, however, though, and I always counter when she brings that up with me, is that have been tasked with implementing AI in the workforce to kind of lighten the load on people, like producers. Like, don't read that whole press release, put it in this AI tool and it will write a news story for you. And while that feels a little heartbreaking, that is the workforce that these students are going into. So how do we say it's not cheating, right, to use AI, right?
Yeah, it's... Well, first of all, as a former English instructor, my heart goes out to our English faculty and all of our faculty, because it really is making us fundamentally question what we do. There are pain points having to do with academic honesty that our instructors are dealing with. But it also, if you're able to write a really good paper with AI, what does that do to what you're actually teaching somebody in an English class? And so it kind of raises that fundamental thing of what is it that we actually do and what we need. And I think, what we're trying to do at Shasta College, we've been having a lot of discussions about it. The community, our faculty have formed a community of practice to share notes and tips. We started a faculty AI ambassadors program so that faculty who are using AI proactively to maybe help out with what they do in class, or to prevent students from getting into academic honesty violations. We started that, so it's faculty training faculty. And we also started an AI task force, which has just come out with a series of recommendations, which will soon go on and be approved, I believe, by the different stakeholder groups at our college. But it kind of points us a path forward for at least the next year and a half on how we're going to address AI.
Yeah.
It's very fascinating, and it's changing all the time.
Yeah.
So
Right.
the conversations I was having about it 3 months ago have evolved into something else.
Yeah.
And that's it's exciting, but it's scary. And we have to think about what it was when Google first came along,
Right.
and search engines or online teaching when that first came along.
Yeah.
We had very much the same sort of questions that were coming up. What's different here is that this is going fast. I mean, it is going very, very fast, changing all the time.
Yeah. I think it's something that we all have to kind of decide on a personal level how much we want to move in the direction that our world is moving with AI.
Yes.
Like, I like to think of myself as I'm a constant student, right?
Yeah.
Part of the cool thing about being a reporter or a journalist is, like, as a reporter, every day you learn something new about a completely different topic. Like, one of my reporters, he's going to go talk to the DWR about the Oroville Dam and the FERC licensing process. He's going to be educated today.
Yeah.
And I've always loved that about this industry. I love learning new things. However, it's just when AI can just give you things and you don't have to think. But when you're tasked with doing so many things in the day, you don't barely have time to breathe. It's hard to not let the AI do it for you. So I feel like the people who continue to go to college, I hope that they're the ones who really want to be there to learn, not just to get that degree, but because they're excited about what they're learning.
Yeah, that's a wonderful point. I have a friend who's been an editor of a pretty big newspaper, and he's now in a national news agency, and he raised a point about AI that I had not thought about. He talked about being a cub reporter, and he was very often given the lowest kind of assignments, like helping to write obituaries or things like that. But what it did is it kind of scaffolded this knowledge, and I think one of the things I'm concerned about is that so much is easy through AI that to really use AI well, you need sort of a base of knowledge, and I worry about those steps getting lost.
Yeah.
And so it's very, very complicated, but at the same time it's really exciting.
Maybe this is one of those baccalaureate programs that Shasta College could add.
It could be.
We'll see
We're
some new
definitely
jobs.
looking at coursework and AI, and I know that many of our instructors in the computer science field have already adapted their curriculum and their teaching practices to help with AI. We're working on, kind of as a college, we're working right now on AI literacy and then moving into AI fluency. And this is not just going to be for faculty, but it's going to be for administrators, staff, and students. And the question that I'm asking right now is, with all of these degrees that we have over 120 degrees, are we really getting in the knowledge in there that students are going to have when they go out in the workplace?
Yeah.
And so that's going to be one of the questions that we're really focusing on the next year.
Okay, interesting. We have now, Shasta College has a Tehama center, right? How has that been, and how is attendance?
Oh, yeah, it's been wonderful. What's really exciting is that we've always had this outreach center in Tehama, I want to say going back at least 40 years. And then in 2008, we moved it to the present campus, which is just a little bit south of Red Bluff. It's a beautiful little campus. It's like 5 or 6 buildings, and it's just really a special feel there. Everybody works very closely together. Sometimes people have to wear multiple hats, but we just got center status, which is a designation from the Chancellor's office, which lets us actually qualify for additional funding once we get to a certain enrollment threshold. So right now, we're really pushing the enrollment, not only through the classes that we offer on campus, but also through the classes we offer at the high schools, which is a big part of our enrollment profile.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's really good things are happening there. We're looking more and more at what programs we could bring down there. We have medical assisting, certified nursing assistant down there now. We are bringing heavy equipment down there. We're looking for ways to add more CTE, career technical education fields down there.
Yeah.
So it's an exciting time.
You mentioned high schools, and yeah, I have a freshman at Chico High, and he's very smart. He's too smart, and maybe it's because he's a little, well, he's just a brilliant young man, but also he did the 2 years of kindergarten before that was a thing.
Yeah.
So he's a little older than his classmates, and so it's always been a little easy for him, and it's something he's already thinking about,
Yeah.
like doing college work while still in high school.
Yeah.
Do you think that that's like a good path for many, a good
Yeah.
way to kind of like, double dip, or?
Absolutely. So I've got a freshman in high school, and I've got a senior in high school. And my senior is coming out with about 26 units,
Wow.
which is almost a full year of, it's mostly dual enrollment credit that he did while he was doing, doing his high school coursework. But he also has some concurrent enrollment, so that's during the summer, doing summer school classes. And it's free at Shasta College for high school students to
Yeah.
take summer school classes. But it's a really good pathway. One thing it does is it gives confidence to students. There are the students, I was one of those, where I probably needed more challenges in my junior and senior year than I
Yeah.
was getting in high school. The thing that's really important for us is that a community college really is serving a specific district. We have 3 counties, and we're not trying to pull people in from all over the country. We're trying to serve those who are there.
Yeah.
Many of our communities are so remote. Even the most remote community will have a high school. And the way that we do dual enrollment, we're able to offer classes in many of those high schools. We have something like 11 agreements with all of the major high schools in our district.
Okay.
And so what that does is it allows students to get college credits before they finish high school. So that saves their parents money, because every semester you get is a semester mom and dad don't have to help you with.
Right.
It saves the taxpayer money, because that's financial aid they don't have to pay for. And so it really is an equity, probably one of our best equity initiatives that we have.
And it probably saves them money too, because even if you're going to a community college and you're not, say you were able to not have to pay for it at all,
Yes.
still the time you're putting in is time that you can't actually make money to pay for your own rent, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, I waitressed my way through college, and so I know that it can be done. I know that late teen, early 20-somethings, we probably need sleep, but we're okay to go without it if
Yeah.
it means, paying the bills. But I mean, how nice would it be to just, get into the workforce a little bit sooner and start supporting your own life?
Absolutely, absolutely. And yeah, it's such a wonderful thing. I mean, I think something like 25 or 30% of our enrollments right now are actually dual enrollment. So that's been a major game changer. And we're having students graduate from high school with like 2 years of college under their belt.
Yeah.
And so they could actually,
Great.
go in to a 4-year university as juniors,
Right.
which is crazy.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So I know that I'm sure you're very busy with your job. I read that you are a marathon runner.
I'm a very slow marathon runner, but yeah.
So I historically have been a runner. I've only done half marathons, and my reason for never having done a full is because I say I don't have the time to train.
Yeah.
I love a long distance run, but how do you find the time to practice and prepare to run 26 plus miles?
I get up at 3:30 in the morning.
Okay, be an early riser.
And I go running when it's dark.
Yeah.
And with marathon training, it's a lot like half marathons. You're really getting a bunch of short runs during the week, and then usually Saturday, Sunday you do a long run,
Right.
which will be 12 to 20 miles, maybe a
Okay.
little bit more. So you just have one day where you're doing a big long run and you're tired for most of the day.
So
But,
say for your Saturday 20 miler, right?
Yeah.
You start early in the morning.
Yep.
Are you one of those who does like a podcast or music, or do you just listen to nature? What's going on for you?
yeah, it kind of depends. You know, I'm a big football fan, so football season, I'm listening to sports radio.
Okay, yeah.
Otherwise, I'm listening to news, you know, National Public Radio or whatever is on. But one of the great things about running, you know, if there's some issue I'm dealing with, like at work, it becomes kind of a meditation. And I will just take out the earbuds and I will just run and I'll look at the stars. And it seems it always helps. You know,
Yeah.
it always helps me to get someplace different with whatever it is that I'm dealing with.
It's funny that you say that because I'm also an early riser, early to bed. In the evenings, people will say there was some sort of lunar thing going on. I always say, I go to bed before sunset, but tomorrow morning on my run, I'll take a look at the stars. Like I
Yeah,
love seeing
yeah.
those. I love wintertime because
Yes.
I love being able to get up from my run. I watch the stars and then I watch the sun come up, right?
Yeah, you watch the sun come up, you see that sunrise. It's absolutely beautiful. I feel bad for people who don't experience that because
Yeah.
it's so lovely.
Yeah.
And the stars, you know, probably every time there's like a Perseid meteor shower or something, you're like noting where it is, right?
Right.
And you go out there and you're like,
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. So, and then for a lot of people who feel like, oh, I could never do that, right?
Yeah.
That sounds so cool, but why? Or you've got to be crazy because running hurts. But do you get that kind of runner's high? Do you get to the place where you're just kind of, you're going and you're
Yeah.
not thinking about it?
Yeah, you do get that. And, you know, the thing I always tell people is that I didn't start running until my 30s. I was never an athlete. I had asthma as a kid. I still struggle with that. And you used to have to go and get shots, you know, when you had asthma. So it wasn't practical to go out and run, you know, 10 miles or something like that. So I remember when I started, my first run was a quarter mile.
Okay.
And I remember when I got to 4 miles, I was running with my wife, who's a very good runner. And I was like, yeah, I made it 4 miles. I'm going to stop. And she's like, keep going. I said, no, I'm going to stop.
Yeah.
So you just take it a little bit at a time.
Right.
And, you know, with marathoning, the rule is you add 10% of mileage per week.
Okay.
And after a while, you get to a lot of mileage. So it's something a lot of people can do. It's always inspiring when I run a marathon because you see so many people out there that if you were to pick them out in the crowd, you would say, that's not a marathoner. You know, you kind of have an image in your head of what that could be, but
Right.
it's all shapes and sizes. I'm always inspired. I've seen a lot of blind people run,
Oh.
and they'll you know, they will often have a guardian with them to guide them. You know, there's lots of people who are in wheelchairs, and so you see that, but it really is amazing.
Yeah, okay. And also, you know, something for me, I kind of feel like it builds your self-worth and this sense of when you start your day with, hey, I just did, you know, a quick 8 miles to start my day. Doesn't matter what the day throws at me. I just did that piece of cake. I can take anything. Yeah.
It's very true. But you alluded to something. It's also kind of an addiction. So
A little bit.
if you
yeah.
don't run, yeah.
Right, exactly. You have to be able to accept the fact that sometimes I have one of those walking pads in my office, and so for me, I like counting the steps and
Yeah.
stuff, and it's like, well, I got to hit at least 10 miles a day, right, of walking, and I have to remember, some days there are going to be meetings, some days I have to sit down and work with somebody. I'm not going to hit the 10 miles, got to let it go. So you got to be okay with it. So,
Well, when you're ready to do a marathon, let me know, and I'll give you some, you know, suggestions.
Okay.
So,
I'll take you up
there-
on it.
yeah. But you need to do one, okay?
Okay.
That's on your bucket
Okay,
list now.
before I hit 45, I'll
Yes.
make a commitment. So before I let you go, for people who are listening to this, maybe high school students who are thinking about, gosh, I kind of just want to get to work, or I'm not sure if Shasta College would be right for me, what would you tell them?
I would tell them that if you come to Shasta College, there is something there for everyone. You're not going to be alone. You're going to have so much support. Our teachers come there to teach. They're not there to research. They're not there to write books. They are there for you. Our support staff is there for you. You know, just come there and discover who you can be and who you are.
All right, Dr. Nigro, thank you so much. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening today. I decided to offer this podcast after enough of you let me know that you wanted a deeper dive into certain stories than you get on our TV broadcasts. We elect certain people to represent our voice, but who are they really? My hope is that this podcast answers that question. I love your feedback, and I want to know who you'd like to hear from next. Just fill out that comment section and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or Spotify.